Hey guys, it's Evan the Cat King here with another What If episode of another Total Drama What If episode. And today it's all about Brick, because today we're doing What If Brick was replaced Sam in All Stars. I gotta say, if there was one person on the All Stars cast that really didn't feel right to be on an All Star cast, it would have to be Sam. I mean, Sierra's kind of a bit questionable as being an all-star as well, but Sam specifically, just did not feel right. Because, not because Sam's a bad character or anything, but just because there was a better character out there, and that would be Brick. If anything, I think Brick would have been the perfect all-star cast, especially speaking that they went heroes versus villains for this season. Brick makes so much sense for the heroes team. Plus, there's just a lot more to do with Brick. There's a lot more possibilities because there's still stuff between him and Joe. There's the yeah. I feel like there's a lot more you can do with Brick than you could with Sam. Sam was just a comedic punching bag the entire time. Now, I'm gonna get into this, the what if things, like this was what it was. Now, the first challenge in the episode Heroes versus Villains, the challenge was to jump off the cliff, get the key, and go unlock the mansion for the winning place. Now, that, it feels as if they blame Lindsay because of her crappy pushing skills in the episode. That's why they lose, they say. But, well, in this, obviously Joe is gonna be the pusher. And I think with Joe being the pusher, I think obviously Brick will volunteer to be pushing. As much as he might not do it right away because he might be thinking, oh, I should probably dive because I'm one of the strongest members. But then he'll see, if he sees Joe being the one to push things over on the other team, he'll obviously try to compete with her. That's one thing that that those two do, and you can let that rivalry keep going on. And so I feel like that would be perfect. Now, in the end, I think the villainous vultures still are gonna win. Because, well, it's really not about the pusher. It's really not. They made it, kind of feel as if if the heroes had chosen someone else other than Lindsay, like someone like Sierra, maybe, then they would have won. But I just don't see that as being the case, because I think it's more about diving than the pushing. So even though they have a better pusher now in Brick, that means I think that they're still gonna lose, meaning the villainous vultures get the first win. Now, for the elimination, I'm going to say it right now, Lindsay is not going home anymore. Because Lindsay originally was the target because, well, they showed her because she was pushing. If she's not pushing and instead jumping off and getting keys and stuff, I don't see them targeting her. Instead, I think that the four people from Revenge of the Island are going to come together and they're going to vote off one of the island people. And I think Sierra does make the most sense here. I think that they're all getting freaked out because she's a bit cuckoo. She's doing her weird Cody stuff, especially. We'll say that she starts creeping on Cameron in this episode already, and that kind of leads to him wanting to get rid of her already, and that'll kind of have everybody else vote off Sierra. So, yeah. The first one out is Sierra. Evil Dread. This one, I will mention... Oh, wait, I might mention real quick here the Boney Island. I don't believe Boney Island really affects much, because in the season, there would be one member of the winning team, I believe it was, that would go to Boney Island for the night. And, of course, the first one was lightning. But after, I don't think that really affects anything. It sometimes affects certain things, but in this version, it's not. So I might mention who goes to Boney Island from time to time, but, like, it doesn't really matter in my opinion. So in this episode, I think Heroic Hamsters will keep the win because Lightning will still screw up with his counting and get voted off. Now also they have Brick instead of Sam, so that's already a much improvement for digging around. Because Sam was literally shown to be the one dragging everybody down. His whole section was like not dug at all. And even though they have Lindsay instead of Sierra, I don't think Sierra was much help in the episode. You saw her dig really deep down, but did she ever find one of the like pieces of the statue? So I don't think she ever did, meaning that I think that that they'd actually be better off with Lindsay than Sierra, so they'll stay winning. Okay, Saving Private Leechball. This one is one thing that I really love this. Why Brick is here instead of Sam. Well, Sam, quite a bit of the part of the episode will be that in the original was that Sam went to Boney Island and was really just banged up and couldn't really compete too much and just kind of had to hang around in the cave. In this, I think Brick did go to Boney Island, but now he's coming back and he's fine. He's strong. He can fend for himself for a night. On Boney Island, so he'll come back and he'll be completely fine. And he'll be the MVP of the team. He's gonna completely he's gonna get rid of probably most of the people. Like, maybe, like, I see him getting rid of almost everybody on the villain's team. And then it'll come down to Joe going into the cave, where Brick just completely wrecks her, even though he has a slingshot and she has a full automatic machine gun thing, giving Brick a big win over Joe, and then Joe gets eliminated. And then we will have the team swap. Courtney and Duncan will swap teams, because Duncan saved Gwen, and Courtney was still being a coward, even though she didn't... There isn't anybody really for her to hide behind. Maybe we'll say that she, her and Lindsay were hanging back around in the cave, and then, she, grabbed Lindsay and shoved her in front of her so that Lindsay got hit with the leeches instead of her or something. By the way, Courtney and Duncan are switching teams. Now, Food Fright. Now, in this version, Heroic Hamsters are losing. The only reason they actually caught back up in this episode was because of Sam. And Sam is gone now. So, you might say, if you think that, no, they'll win because Sam isn't here to steal the pancakes, making them stay winning, but no. Sam was the only reason they caught back up and won in the first place. So, now that Sam is gone, they ain't even catching back up. The villains are just gonna win. They don't have to worry. So, in the end, the Heroic Hamsters will lose. And even though she didn't get eliminated in the first episode this time, sadly, I don't think Lindsay's make it any further. None of these challenges have really seemed very good for Lindsay so far. So I don't see Lindsay doing much in any of the challenges so far. It's been a very, physical season, and that's, not good for Lindsay. And that and the heroes, they kind of want to win the challenges. So they'll vote her out, sadly. Now, Moon Madness. This episode does not matter at all. The only thing that we get from this episode this episode is basically just Mal character development. This episode is basically all about Mal, because Mal takes control of Mike for the whole episode, which is so it's kind of just all about showing us what Mal is really all about. And then in the end, heroes lose, And Cameron ends up quitting the competition or voting himself out, saying that he'd like to leave, only for the vote to not matter at all, and instead he just joins the villains team. So this really, all this episode gave us was Cameron joining the villains team, and, well, it gave us Happy Heather, which is probably the best thing to come from All Stars, so I guess it's not a total waste of time. Now, no one expects the Spanish opposition, and I just realized that I don't have the merge in the right spot. Okay. But yeah, no one expects the Spanish opposition. I don't get why that title, but either way, heroic hamsters are gonna lose. No. The villains are gonna lose because Mike and Zoe are gonna win it for the team, right? Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of the next episode. And just like in the original, Heather's gonna be a big stupid idiot by finding the totem, but then not keeping it and just leaving it behind, leading to Alejandro getting it and causing her to go home. Now, Sucker's Punch. This is where the heroes lose. This is what I was thinking of. I think that the whole question on this one is that who would Brick fight in this episode? Because this is the boxing episode. And everybody on both teams ended up fighting in the end. So it doesn't, because Zoe gets the point for like the previous episode. Alejandro beats his brother. Mal beats up Izzy, which is completely inaccurate. I feel like Izzy would wreck Mike or Mal. Doesn't matter who is in control. Mike is just a skinny little dude. He ain't beating up Izzy in a giant spider costume. Or Alejandro. And then Gwen and Courtney, I'm pretty sure, win it for their teams by just beating each other up for a little while. So, now it comes down... but the thing is, who's Brick gonna fight? And it's kind of like... they're supposed to be fighting their fears. And if I remember correctly... Brick's fear is the dark. That's what I think of when I think of Brick's fear. Ugh, sorry. I mean, the first thing I actually thought of was it would be funny if they had the wheel spin for Brick being Joe. I thought that would be really funny if they had him fight Joe. But then I thought back, and he wouldn't be afraid of Joe. He's afraid of the dark. He's afraid of the dark, so I think they'd have him fight something. It doesn't really matter what he's fighting, but it's in the dark. And he's gonna lose because he's gonna be freaking out and just get knocked out. So the villainous vultures still win here. And then this is gonna be an earlier boot for Duncan. The first, like, kind of he gets out an episode earlier. He's not gonna blow up the weird mansion in the next episode, because he's kind of the odd one out in the Heroic Hamsters team, with Zoe, Mike, and Brick all being from Revenge of the Island. So Duncan is the odd one out, and I feel like they'll see that Duncan failed to beat a little tiny bird, so they'll eliminate him because of that. So now, the final 8 and the merge has arrived. You gotta be kidding me. Now, there are a few people who are gonna stay the same. Alejandro, Gwen, and Courtney all aren't gonna be affected by Brick. And I don't think Zoe or Mal will be either. Because, well, I mean, Zoe's on the raft with Cameron, Duncan, and Scott for a little bit. Well, now Brick and Cameron and Scott. She's on there for a little bit, but she just joins Mike eventually, which kind of... So, and then... Now, I was reminded of what happens in this episode. I remembered that Cameron pushes Scott and kind of uses him as bait in this episode. And then the thing is, Duncan, it's because him and Scott and Duncan are the ones on the raft at that point in time. Cameron gets praised by Duncan a bit for that. He doesn't get any consequences to his actions there. But now that Brick is there, I don't know if that's the case. I see Brick seeing that happen and kind of not really trust Cameron. Then I thought back to it, and throughout this season, Mal is going around breaking crap. He broke Cameron's glasses. He broke Sierra's phone. I mean, at this point, it'll probably be like, you could make an excuse that like maybe he'll break something of Brick's or something of Lindsay's. But I could see Brick thinking back to Revenge of the Island, and he'll think back to when Scott was framing Dawn for stealing stuff, and kind of try to figure out who's been breaking crap. And I think I could see him seeing Cameron doing this and not trusting him, thinking that Cameron's been the one doing all this evil type crap. And even though Cameron did in fact break his glasses, Brick might think either he tripped and that happened on accident, or like Scott, and he broke them on purpose to try and have suspicion leave his sight. So I think that this will cause Brick to not really trust Cameron too much. This is going to drive a wedge between the alliance of four, but not quite yet. In the end, Alejandro's still going to win by a nose. And then I think Brick will go to Zoe and Mal and tell them about how he's suspicious of Cameron. Because I'm pretty sure after Cameron left as well, stuff's just stopped breaking. I mean, there was Duncan's knife, but I don't think that anybody really knew much about that. But stuff stopped breaking as soon as Cameron kind of left. So I think Brick will reveal his suspicions of Cameron. And originally, this would have been where Cameron got eliminated, but Duncan blew up the mansion. That won't happen anymore. Mal won't rig the votes, because now both Brick and even Zoe are a bit suspicious of Cameron. Zoe not too much. She trusts Cameron, but she's not gonna like leave it out of possibility. And so Mal has a reason to keep Cameron around now. Cameron can be a bit of a scapegoat for him. He can Cameron is being here kind of throws suspicion off of Mal. So I think that he'll just keep him around and that they'll vote off Scott, sadly. Scott is going to sadly get sent home here because, well, they probably see Courtney and Scott starting to get along a bit more, and they don't really want Courtney and Gwen to get another teammate, as well as the fact that, I mean, and as well as they just don't trust Scott. Ever since the previous season, they just don't trust him anymore. So yeah, now we're on to Zeke and Ye Shall Find. This is the one where Ezekiel captures Chris and they have to go and save him in the caves. Now, this episode shouldn't change too much. I don't... Brick could, like, join Mike and Cameron or something. I don't know exactly what Brick's gonna be doing in this episode. But I just see it kind of working out the same way with Cameron getting hurt in the end and getting sent home because of injury. I think that's fine there. I think we keep that the same. Obstacle course, another one that's just gonna kind of stay the same. Alejandro is gonna lose the challenge finally and get eliminated. He's gonna run out of luck here, and whether it be from Mal sabotaging him or maybe Brick is actually gonna just beat him here. But either way, it's gonna end with Alejandro going home. Now, Sunday Muddy Sunday is another one that won't really change too much. The one change that I see happening here is that now the show doesn't need to have some stupid reason to break up the alliance of three between Courtney, Gwen, and Scott. Because Mike and Mal and Zoe, and Zoe, they're not outnumbered anymore. I think they did that because they needed a way to keep Zoe and Mal to the end because they were the final two and they needed to find a way to break up the alliance of three. Now, Mal and Zoe aren't the outnumbered ones. It's Courtney and Gwen. So I'd like to think that now they're just... we don't have the fallout of Gwen and Courtney. They just stay friends here. And then Courtney goes home in the vote because they're outnumbered. She's just unlucky here. And then the bold and the bootyful. Of course, we're gonna have... Gwen is gonna stay eliminated here. My wondering was, for bringing the painting, and then Chris eliminating her because of using the bear poop. But then I was thinking about Brick here. He would get Scott's challenge, and I was thinking, would Brick be able to beat Zoe? Beat Zoe in this challenge. And I think he'd be able to get the, gem thing out of Fang's, tooth and actually, escape with it. Because he's a strong dude. I could see him, finding some way to knock out Fang real quick and then taking it. But I don't see him beating Zoe. And then Zoe's gonna bring Mal to the finale like before for some reason. Why does she do that? I don't understand why she... Because she knows that Mike is Mal. So, why does she bring him to the finale? I don't know. Either way, Zoe and Mike are the canonical and non-canonical or whatever. They're the two winners. And that's what would happen, in my opinion, if Brick were to replace Sam. Personally, I actually like this season more. It's a shame to see Scott go earlier than before, but I feel as if Scott had enough, and we didn't get the awesome line of, Courtney, I'm your girlfriend, after she falls or something. I think that was what it was. But I think that doesn't... I feel as if this is a better season. Because Sierra gets out right away, and I don't hate Sierra, but she's a little annoying, and she doesn't really feel right in this season. She's like Sam. She doesn't feel right in this season. I would have, if I were to choose, I would have replaced Sierra with Lashana as well. Maybe I should do that as an episode. Okay, that could be a future episode. What if Lashana was in All Stars instead of Sierra? Lindsay gets to go further. She doesn't get to be an idiot. We got a bit more we got a good amount of Brick. He made it to the final three even, because he would have made it further than Gwen technically. And then also I kind of like the idea of Brick kind of coming on to thinking that maybe Cameron is the one who is screwing with everything through using Scott as bait. I feel like that could work, and that I think that'll make people feel like people are less stupid. Well, everybody's gonna still seem stupid, but Zoe isn't. And I think that was one thing that was a big problem with All Stars. Zoe was a complete bumbling idiot for not noticing that Mal was Mal and not Mike. But either way, I could blab along about this for quite a while. But either way, I'm just gonna end things here. See you guys next time in the next Total Drama Who Would Win Book Death Battle video that I make. Bye.